Okay, guys, welcome back to the channel. 2 days ago now, we did some Playwright end-to-end tests with Cursor. Yesterday, we added some unit tests. Today, we're going to add some contract tests between the backend and the database schema. So why is this valuable? Why is this something that you should care about? I find that trying to make sure that your backend doing contract tests with your database really is helpful to keep the code base up to date when it comes to specifically regressions. If you change part of your schema for one thing and then a different function is basically not updated, a contract test is a very quick and effective way of making sure that it works. So we are going to start adding them. So what I've done, and this is actually just something that I haven't really talked too much about, is I took a couple examples of contract tests from other code bases that I have, and I'm using those as the example for dropping it in and having it start to write the tests. This is something that I feel like is really helpful when it comes to using AI. Once you get large readmes or patterns that you like, it's really good at copying those patterns, and then you can just start to move those. So what I just dropped in was about 1,000 lines of code that I gave it as, hey, here's what I want you to do. Now it's working on it, right? And what we'll see is the output. While it's doing that, by the way, if you want to talk about QA stuff, check out my LinkedIn. It's Ben Fellows on LinkedIn. I post a lot about QA. If you are trying to learn this stuff or you're in leadership and you're wondering like why your team is not doing some of this stuff, feel free to check out the website workwithloop.com or just drop me a DM. I'm happy to chat. Also, if you're interested in ever doing presentations or anything, I'm considering trying to do some of that stuff. With that, let's add contract tests to the suite. Right now, the suite is sitting at roughly 116 tests passed. I did spend a little bit of time yesterday going through some of the tests that we produced yesterday. The biggest thing that I've gotten feedback on, by the way, is people saying that this is not helpful because I'm just showing that I'm blindly testing the AI. Unfortunately, given most people watch these videos for 5 minutes, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time walking through the output of this and deciding whether it's good or not. Instead, what I'll be focused on is how to use these tools and the power of them, but I'm going to trust that you as an engineer take ownership of the code that you write and the output that you have. Please do not blindly trust these things. Ultimately, it's your code. You need to take responsibility for it. With that, we will sit and wait for it to be done. Okay. So it has written the contract tests. That being said, it's now added them. Let's quickly look through them. Yep. Create user. Yep. Create ticket. Update. Yep. Yeah, for context, it's done something completely wrong, actually, which is a really good example of never trust AI. We're actually going to go ahead and add a utility to just validate some of the return structures as opposed to doing it in the test itself. This is a strategy that I used in a different suite that was helpful in catching a lot of things and made it just a cleaner code base. Same thing. So what I'm doing is I'm just using basically other suites that have had success and some of the tooling in those other suites to basically prompt the AI to think about how I want it to be thought about. Here's a bunch of TypeScript errors. Worked through most of the TypeScript errors. We have one left. We're going to drop it in. Okay, we've fixed the TypeScript errors, did a couple changes. Now we are looking at 4 failures, 6 passed in our new contract test. If we go and we look through the new contract test that it's written, you can see return structure for list by get create. Let's look at create. Should return ticket ID and create proper database record. Return type string, I believe. Cool. So then now let's go look at this and let's ask it the question to see how it does. If the schema is the source of truth, are these bugs or bad tests? Let's see it. Generally, I do, and people might disagree with this. I personally think that the schema could be a very effective source of truth. It feels like code tends to get changed a lot more than the schema, or at least when you change the schema, you have to be a little bit more careful. One of the things I will say I enjoy about Convex working with it is that Convex, if you change the schema and you basically have existing data that no longer aligns with the schema, Convex won't let you basically even deploy to dev without fixing that. So it's a really nice way of just basically making sure you don't mess up your schema too often. Good. These tests are they're bad tests, not bugs. So it continues to work through trying to fix the tests. For the sake of this video, we're just believing the AI, but like once again, I have plenty of time now. And here's the thing that I think I'm trying to explain to people is, so I'm doing work that previously would have taken me like a decent amount of the day to do. I'm going to be able to sit down and basically go, okay, now I have 7 hours still today left to do stuff with. I'm going to go through and actually look at these tests and decide if I agree with them or not. I'm not going to show that in the video because once again, most of you only watch for 4 minutes, but like that is part of the process now. So it's rather than just coding all day, I get to spend time like reviewing and deciding if it's correct or not. The other thing I will say about agent mode is because it has context, it can remember the prompts that I've given it in the past. And so sometimes you don't always have to give it the same instructions. You can just prompt in the failures and it'll decide. Yeah, so it knows, okay, there's one more bad test assertion. Actual API overwrites that field with the user object. So this goes back to, and that line right there starts to give me concern. That's possibly not what I actually wanted it to do. So you have to be able to catch that, right? Because now you have a test, and this is where not always perfect, but 10 tests passed, right? 10 contract tests that did not exist roughly 12 minutes ago. Oh, time is gone. Cool. All right, so then let's go ahead and add it to now using this pattern from add to, and you can see now it's starting to write contract tests for the customers based on the pattern that we originally defined in the contract tickets file. While we're going, let's see how the overall suite runs. Okay, so it's now added contract tests for the customer. You can see it did generate some TypeScript errors. While it's fixing the TypeScript errors, let's go ahead and look. Wrong one, sorry. Okay, look users. Should handle delete users gracefully. Some of these kind of, to be completely honest with you, go beyond the scope of a contract test. So like probably what I would do is just, because they're almost like integration tests. Let's go ahead and do that and just say some of these. Great, and so I actually agree with this assessment, so it's going to go ahead and fix those. You can see it's already stripped out a decent number of the tests because ultimately my perspective on a contract test is a much more limited scope of set of tests. It's really just focused on the overall object that's coming back. These look better. Cool. Okay, let's run the whole suite. All right, that's probably it for the video today. We added 12 contract tests. What I'm going to do next is go review them. I have a meeting in 15 minutes, and after that, I'll probably sit down for an hour and just decide what I want to change about them. Once again, the lesson here more than anything is that it's about typing on a keyboard just faster than a human could ever possibly type. Like, my perspective on it is that I take ownership over this code. I'm going to not ship this code until I am confident in it, but at the same point, it just did a boatload of work that would have taken me most of the day. And now instead I get to go through and actually decide what is right and what is wrong. So with that, thanks for checking out the video, guys. I will be back tomorrow. Talk soon.